What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ready, Set, Replay, the ultimate video game replay podcast. I'm Daniel, joined as always by my best friend, Skyler.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about Crazy Taxi from Sega. But before we get into that, we need to get our minds right, Skyler. We gotta get in the headspace.
I haven't even left the year 2000 from the last time.
I like the cut of your jib, but we gotta get deeper. Von deeper.
All right.
So this game came out February 2nd of the year 2000, the second day of the second month of the 2000th year.
Wow.
We are specifically talking about the Dreamcast release. This is the first American home release of this game. It technically came out the year before in the arcade, but for this show we're using exclusively home releases. Just for people who are like, that came out in 99. Well, whatever.
You are correct.
You are correct. However,
that is true. That did happen, but for consoles, it came out the next year.
So, because the last one we did, Mario Party 2, only came out like about a week and change before this, not a lot has changed in terms of the box office and the billboards. Next Friday is currently the #1 movie in the box office. Previously it had been #2, now it's #1. The Green Mile moved up from #4 to #2. Stuart Little moved up from 5 to 3. Galaxy Quest.
Rat. Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, go on.
I just said punk ass rat.
Punk ass rat. Galaxy Quest moved up from 7 to 4, of all things.
Shout out to Galaxy Quest.
And a movie called Magnolia that I'm not super familiar with moved up from 9 to 5. So that's the top 5 of today.
Just like Dolly.
Just
that's
like
crazy.
Dolly. On the billboard, it is almost literally exactly the same, which, as a reminder, #1 is I Knew I Loved You by Savage Garden. Do you know that song?
No.
That's the one that goes...
Not by name.
Is that one? I don't know the lyrics, but it goes like that.
That didn't help me as much as I think you were hoping it would.
Okay. Well, it was a really famous song for a long time. But not as famous, unfortunately, as #2, What a Girl Wants by Christina Aguilera.
Oh, hell yeah.
#3, Smooth by Santana.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, now we're talking my language.
Those ones I knew I wouldn't need to help you with at all. #4 is Back at One by Brian McKnight. I'm not super familiar with that song at all. And then #5 is the only one that is not the same as it was last week when we were talking about Mario Party 2. It is Get It On Tonight by Montel Jordan.
Get it on tonight.
Get it on tonight. Something interesting in the book space happened.
Uh-oh, which Harry Potter came out?
No. This is one. This is a book that you liked, I believe.
Oh, excuse me. Which Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire came out?
One of them did come out this year, but not this week.
Damn it.
The one that came out was book 3 of the series of unfortunate events, The Wide Window.
Oh, the window one. I'm sure I wrote a book report on that.
Yeah, I think at one time you told me that you had read like all of them.
No, that's not true. I've read most of them.
Oh.
I dropped off around 10 or so. I don't know how it ends. And I will not watch the Netflix show to find out.
Well, for all we know, the Netflix show could have changed.
No. Impossible.
Did the Netflix show even get to the end of the series?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay.
I think it got like 2 or 3 seasons. I don't know. But yeah, I know they got to the end.
Fair enough. One of the bigger things going on in this particular week, although not the biggest thing, was the 57th Golden Globes. So, as a little rundown of some of the winners, we won't go through all of them because there's just so many.
Who won Best Picture Comedy Musical?
Toy Story 2.
I guess it's fun. It's funny, I guess.
It has music in it. I wouldn't call it a musical.
Oh, freaking the Jesse Gets Left Behind in the sad song. That music?
I don't know, maybe. I guess it fits more into musical or comedy than drama, probably for them, because they think of it exclusively as like, it's that kid's movie, I'm sure. So they're not thinking about like, it was really sad about that Jesse thing, right?
Sure. Well,
so
no,
for them,
yeah, one scene doesn't define a whole movie unless it's Pulp Fiction.
They saw the fat guy and they went, ha, 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 ha.
Oh yeah, Wayne Knight is very funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just cool that they gave an animated feature a Best Picture instead of like, oh, just Best Animated.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
Best
what won the other Best Picture?
best motion picture drama went to American Beauty.
Yeah, that won everything that year.
Yeah, I think that's
Makes
about right.
sense.
Isn't that Kevin Spacey?
That is Captain Spicy, unfortunately. Yeah.
Ugh. Well, we'll move on from that then. The
And
best.
it's about him wanting to have relationships with underage people.
Oh,
That's what
good.
the movie's
A
about.
documentary then.
All right, let's move on.
Best performance in a drama went to Denzel Washington for The Hurricane, which I think is a boxing movie. And for women, it went to Hilary Swank in Boys Don't Cry, which is slightly
Mhm.
ironic, I think, because I think she plays a man in that movie. Best performance in a musical or comedy went to Jim Carrey for Man on the Moon and
Yeah, good
Jeanette
movie.
McTeer for Tumbleweeds.
I don't know Tumbleweeds.
I'm not familiar with it either. Supporting performance went to Tom Cruise in Magnolia and Angelina Jolie in Girl Interrupted,
Hmm. Hmm.
which Girl Interrupted I am not familiar with, but is apparently the movie that Angelina Jolie is known for.
See, I was trying to puzzle that out not too long ago, actually. I'm like, what is the Angelina Jolie movie? Because she's like an icon. Like everyone knows who she is, but like, what is the performance of hers?
Yeah,
And that's probably it, I guess.
it seems like for most people it's that. I mean, what else would it be? Tomb Raider? You know what I mean? Like, what's it gonna be?
Wanted.
Wanted? Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really care for the
No,
Wanted movie, to be honest.
no, Wanted is that is not my real answer.
Okay, all right. Best director, and screenplay both also went to American Beauty,
Yeah.
but best original song went to Phil Collins for "You'll Be in My Heart."
Oh, I like Tarzan.
I love Tarzan. That's like one of my favorite Disney movies,
Yeah.
easily.
It's
And that's
probably the best Tarzan version, right? The animated one.
I would think so. I didn't see like any of the live action ones. I think that might
So
be the only Tarzan I've seen, so I can't
it's
really
the
speak to it. But I don't think people liked the Skarsgård one.
it's the least racist Tarzan,
Oh, okay.
right?
Oh no.
Because you know Tarzan goes back like a long ways, so
Oh, that is true.
naturally when they're making older films,
Yeah,
uh,
like the old 50s Batman where he fights the mole men, but it's super racist to Japanese people because it's
yeah,
like right after World War II. Yeah.
yeah.
On the TV side of things, it was the entire thing was really cleaned up by two shows. Number one was The Sopranos, that
Hmm.
won Best Television Series Drama, as well
Hmm.
as Best Actor in a Drama for James Gandolfino,
Yeah.
Best Actress in a Drama for Eddie Falco, and Best Supporting Actress for Nancy Marquand.
All right.
And the second one might actually surprise you because it's a brand new show that had like just started this year, and I think at this point had like less than 10 episodes out. It's Sex and the City.
Oh,
Sex and the City
okay.
won Best Television Series Comedy or Musical and Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical for Sarah Jessica Parker.
All
So
right.
it popped off like immediately, this show.
Interesting.
But Skylar,
I
I
don't have
want to
much to
talk to
add on Sex
you.
and the City. Oh, excuse me.
No, you're good. I want to talk to you about the best story going on at this time. The thing that all warm-blooded Americans were thinking about at the time that this game came out, February 2nd, 2000, and that is the story of Kurt Warner.
Oh, okay. I was nervous about where this was
No,
going,
no, no,
but
no, no,
no.
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no, 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 no. That's in September of 2001. We're not talking about that yet. That didn't
Oh, no,
happen.
no, 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 no.
Uh, Kurt Warner, the quarterback that should have never played football.
Oh, yes.
This is the story of how he won Super Bowl 34, I believe. XXXIV, I think that's 34.
Star Wars didn't get that far, so I don't know.
Fair, 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 fair. So here's the story. So Kurt Warner graduated from nothing school in Iowa in 1993.
Oh, yeah.
He was pretty good at that school. He was well respected. People knew that he was pretty good at the game. But unfortunately, in '94, he went undrafted. Kurt Warner, one of my childhood heroes, went undrafted the year I was born. I think that's a little offensive, personally. I find that rude, cosmically. But he still went to training camp with the Packers and got immediately cut.
Are you telling this story because it was the St. Louis Rams and you're
Yes.
from was okay. All
Yes.
right. It's a fair reason. Continue, sir.
It's also just a really good story.
No, yeah, they made a movie about it.
Yeah. With Zachary Levi playing
Unfortunately,
him.
yeah.
Yeah. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Was it a good movie? Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
Okay. Well, it might have
I'm
been
not
good.
watching Zachary Levi vehicles.
So he gets cut from training camp at the Packers, which is probably for the best because you don't want to play for the Packers. Then you got to play at Lambeau. It's cold all the time. You don't want to do it. It's just not fun.
It's the oldest franchise in NFL history.
I mean, yeah, it probably feels that way when your bones are chilling out of your body.
Damn.
So he left. He left football altogether, and he was stocking shelves at a grocery store called Hy-Vee for $5.50 an hour. Future Super Bowl winning quarterback stocking shelves because he didn't get drafted. But famously, his wife like convinced him to not give up and to keep trying and to get into football in any way he could because it was like his dream. It was his whole thing. He was the football guy. So he ended up joining an arena football league and did so well in arena football that they named the arena football game after him. It is called, like the video game is called Kurt Warner's Arena Football. He is the Shaun White. He is the Tony Hawk of arena football. He goes and he does so well that he gets another shot at the NFL. And he goes and he tries out with the Bears, but he fails because he has an elbow injury that is somehow caused by a bug bite. It got like infected or something and he can't throw the ball right. So he doesn't make it onto the Bears.
Like the bug bite messed with his muscle. On like the
I
joint,
guess so.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. But he ended up still sort of getting a job at the NFL. He got allocated to the NFL Europe, which is a thing that apparently existed for a very brief period of time. It existed from 1991 to 2007. There was a European branch of the NFL.
Like NXT UK.
I mean, basically. So he was the quarterback for the Amsterdam Admirals. He plays there for a couple of years, and in 1999, which is the season we're talking about, of course, because the Super Bowl is the following year.
The Super Bowl is in the yep.
He finally comes back to the States and becomes the third string quarterback for the Rams. There are two people above him in the pecking order for who gets to start in any given football game. But before the season starts, the second guy gets traded to the Ravens. And in a preseason game, their star quarterback, Trent Green, gets his ACL completely destroyed by the most disgusting team in the league, the Chargers.
Oh, fuck off.
This is why the dirty bubble came for you, okay? It was revenge for this.
I'm not even gonna. You're welcome, by the way. This isn't even your team. I don't even know why you're doing this. The Rams came to LA too, you know.
Yeah, that's how they knew the dirty bubble. So everyone at this time is believing that the Rams season is over. They're like, we're down to our third quarterback, and he's an arena football guy. Like, he was over in NFL Europe. He doesn't stand a chance. Immediately, Kurt Warner is taking off like no one could have possibly expected. He becomes the first quarterback in NFL history to throw 3 touchdowns in each of his first 3 starts. That record would not be beaten until Patrick Mahomes in 2018.
Oh, now we're jacking off Patrick Mahomes. I hate this video. I hate this episode.
He ends up getting featured on Sports Illustrated's October 18th cover with a caption that just says, "Who is this guy?" Because nobody knows. He came out of nowhere. He ends the season having thrown for 4,353 yards with 41 touchdown passes in a franchise record high 13-3 record. He's incredibly impressive. So he ends up taking the Rams basically single-handed to the Super Bowl, to Super Bowl 34 against the Tennessee Titans. I said single-handedly. He had a couple of other people with him who were good. His running back, Marshall Faulk, is like also considered to be one of the best at the time.
Yeah.
He also had
sounds like just everything clicked. Like
just
you
came
got a quarterback that just worked with his offense super well.
Yeah. Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk carried this franchise, but there's also Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt who were also very good. They really pushed this team forward. But Kurt Warner is the guy who gets the credit because he came out of nowhere to do this.
Yeah, it's a true underdog story.
In this Super Bowl, before halftime, he breaks 2 ribs. So he goes to the locker room and he gets it taped up. And he just says, "Call me back when it's done. I'm gonna finish this game. Call me back when the halftime is done." The halftime is ridiculous, by the way. It's a millennial celebration by millennial because it's the new millennium, not millennial and
Yes,
like
yes,
us.
yes. Yes.
But it's being produced by Disney. It's like an Epcot thing. There's this giant like 30-foot monster that's supposed to be like the sage of time ushering in a new millennium. It's insane. Christina Aguilera is there with, for some reason, Enrique Iglesias. Phil Collins comes out and does "You're in My Heart." I don't know. It was a weird one. Genuinely one of the weirdest Super Bowls at half times. It's also, by the way, narrated by Edward James Olmos. He comes back with 2 broken ribs, and they end up just barely winning by preventing a game-tying touchdown at the absolute last second from the Titans, 1 yard short of them hitting the end zone.
Wow.
1 yard. It's one of the most famous plays in NFL history.
Yeah.
That is the story of Kurt Warner. One of certainly the most famous quarterbacks of all time, who damn near almost never actually played the game.
Underdog came out of nowhere to lead the team to victory. Broken ribs at the halftime. You know what this all sounds like to me? A goddamn industry plant.
An industry.
Kurt Warner,
you're just mad.
I'm calling you out.
You're just mad because the Chargers tried to break the Rams and they couldn't do it.
Zachary Levi in a movie.
We all know. We all know who the better LA team is.
NFL history, my ear.
NFL
Let's talk
history.
about video game.
Now that we are firmly back in the 2000s, we are restarting feuds from sports teams back in that day. I think now is a perfect time to talk about Crazy Taxi. So for people who don't know, because Crazy Taxi I think is a pretty popular game, but not necessarily like one that I think people today would really know. Crazy Taxi is an arcade game where you play as a taxi driver and you literally just have to pick people up and drive them to a destination as fast as possible. But it's crazy. So you have to drive, you're on a really strict timer. You have to like drift and try to get extra points by doing tricks in your taxi while you get there. And that's where the extra arcade aspect of it comes in. Because you have to, like, you earn more time based on how fast you're able to get the people from one place to another. So you're able to potentially extend your timer indefinitely. So when it was in the arcades,
the longer you play.
Yeah. So in the arcades, you were directly rewarded for like learning how the map worked or knowing where the people were going to want to go or like what the optimal route was, that sort of thing. And I must say, I played this game a lot as a kid and I remember loving it. Going back and replaying it didn't do it for me.
I won't say I played this game a lot as a kid. I played like successors to this game a lot as a kid. Not even necessarily Crazy Taxi sequels, but like there was a Simpsons version that did this, and like lots of other
and got sued about it.
Well,
it's true, they did.
I believe you. The point is, it's I guess it's iconic as a game. I didn't really have fun playing it.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in the same boat on this one.
I don't know. So, okay, this is going to be not only a shorter episode of Replay, but it is the most skill issue episode of Replay because people who can play Crazy Taxi well play it very well and can get very high scores and can do all this stuff, unlock the whatever. What do you unlock? You unlock a rickshaw?
Yeah, so if you, let me see, how is it that you unlock it? If you beat all of the Crazy Box challenges,
the Crazy Box challenges,
you can unlock a rickshaw.
Yeah, I did not do that for this, so I'm not going to be putting the 100% stamp on this game. But, I mean, I'm two sides of a coin here. On one side, what this game is and what it did for the time, and especially it being an arcade game, I think iconic is a proper word to use.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like my personal preference of playing games, like this one I wasn't good at it, so I didn't play it a lot. And it's one of those things where if you like Google, like, hey, what's the trick to getting good at Crazy Taxi? And then the answer is hours and hours of practice. It's just like, well, no, I'm busy. I can't do that now.
Yeah.
So I respect people who are good at it. Good for you, dude. That's awesome. I'm not going to poo-poo it and say it's a terrible game because I'm not good at it. But I'm also not going to be spending a lot of time frustratingly trying to get good at it at this stage in my life. So what I am going to say is the obvious thing, and I think a lot of people may not phrase it exactly this way, but they'll feel it in their hearts. This game is undoubtedly carried
Mhm.
by the soundtrack.
The worst thing about that
Huh.
version I played didn't have it.
Which version did you play?
So I played the Xbox 360 version, the Xbox Live
Oh
Arcade version.
no. Well, they added more songs, right?
There's a different soundtrack. You played the PS2 version,
Completely different.
correct?
I did play the PS2 version,
So the
which
difference is
only
between
has the PS2 version, which is the same as
yeah.
the Dreamcast version, only has 7 songs by 2 bands.
hmm So,
Bad
so
Religion and The Offspring.
correct. The the differences between our two versions are that you got the good music with Bad Religion and The Offspring, two very good bands, whereas my version has an entirely original soundtrack. Uh,
Ooh.
it is like it is similar like pop punk stuff. It's not bad, but it's also not good. Like it's fine. It is serviceable because so there was the arcade version that was exactly the same as the Dreamcast version
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
that stayed the same across Dreamcast, PS2, and the original Xbox, I believe.
Mhm.
And that all had the correct soundtrack. Then there was the PC version that came out after the fact, and for that one, they had already lost the rights to those songs.
Right.
So they
I
changed
guess that makes
to
sense.
so they had changed so that they could continue selling it. They changed to bands called Pivot, Too Rude, and Total Chaos, which apparently are also very good. They lost the rights
I'm not
to
familiar with them.
yeah. Well, they lost the rights
But
to those ones too by the time the 360 version that I played came out, and so it's entirely original music apparently
a
that they now
much
just like
longer
own.
list.
Yeah, I'm sure. The other big difference is in your version of the game, you were taking people to a lot of product placement, like very
Oh,
2000s
I didn't even
locations.
think about this. Did they take that out
Yes.
for
So you're
what?
taking people to Pizza Hut and KFC and Tower
Yeah.
Records, and I'm
Yeah, yeah,
taking
yeah.
people to PCF and Pizza Parlor and like Studio Records, I think it was called.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's all just like generic brand name things. So I'm playing a version of the game that is just like it is just basically stripped down to the core mechanics of doing this arcade game, and
Can
it's fine. But I will say because you were saying like I'm not good at the game. I think
Yeah.
other people who are good at it probably enjoy it a lot more, and that's definitely true.
Yeah, yeah.
I did pretty well in this game. I was able to pretty consistently get like like an A license or an S license a couple of times even.
Sure, yeah.
What I will say is that this game is just not it just doesn't feel good to play. Like it doesn't control well. Trying to do all of the different, the crazy drift and the crazy start and all those things doesn't feel good. You have to like switch between
No.
reverse and hitting the gas pedal to do most of them, and sometimes it just like doesn't come out the way that you want it to, or like you overdrift, and it's just like it's kind of annoying. Like it just doesn't feel good.
You
Everything
know what's
feels like really
crazy?
floaty. It's not tight. It's just not it's not a fun game to drive in, and that's
You
the
know what
whole
I
game.
you know what I bet would feel a lot better controlling wise
Huh.
if you had a steering wheel and a gear shift
It's
like in
possible.
the arcade.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a lot of the control problems that I was having would have been not magically solved skill wise, right? But improved if I had the gear shift than from the arcade version.
Yeah.
Which I did used to have a plug-in like a steering wheel controller that had a gear shift and pedals and stuff. Um, for the specifically for the PlayStation, and I don't know what happened to it. In theory, I didn't get rid of it. It's in a box somewhere. But I didn't find it for this. So Nor do I even know if it would have worked. In theory, it would have worked, right?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, if it worked, if it was able to connect to the PS2 you're playing on, then yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Played like Burnout on it, and so in theory, it should have worked for this. Yeah. But the fact that you played this game, which neither of us are a fan of how it controls,
Hmm.
and you didn't get the music,
Hmm.
and you didn't even have the novelty. Not like it's important, but you didn't even have the novelty of like, oh, there's Pizza Hut.
Yep. Although
Um,
it's one of those things where like when you're driving down the street and you're like, that used to be a Pizza Hut. It's still shaped like a
yeah,
Pizza Hut, but it's called
yeah,
Pizza Parlor,
just like in real
just
life.
like in real life. I was literally playing this game as if the city had transformed into the year 2024.
Oh no. Yeah, no, so no Offspring, no Bad Religion, no Pizza Hut.
Mhm.
It just sounds like you didn't play Crazy
I know,
Taxi,
right? Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
And that's why, because I texted you at one point. I was like, "Hey, what version of this game are you playing? Like, do you have access to your PS2? Do you have the PS2 version?"
That's why you asked. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the reason that I asked was because I was going through my PS2 collection, and I don't know if I've talked about this on the show. I have a pretty extensive PS2 collection. Somehow I don't have Crazy Taxi. Like of all like that's one of the
Yeah.
like classic PS2 games. Like that's the one of the ones people talk about a lot, even though it's technically a
I, f-
Dreamcast game.
I feel like you should be able to rectify that somewhat
It
easily.
should be pretty easy to find. But I was looking
Yeah,
through my collection. I was like, how do I not own this? And so I didn't have the option. I guess I could have gone to your house and played it over at your place, or I could
yeah.
have run over to a movie trading company or something and picked it up. But I didn't. So if that might be on me. That I don't know for a fact that that's going to dramatically affect my score here, because the soundtrack I'm sure helps. I don't think the Pizza Hut necessarily was going to change my score, but I think it is undeniable that I played the worst version possible of this game.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So sorry about that, I guess, viewers. I didn't want to play that version either. It was just the only real option for me.
Is this game digital anywhere?
Yeah, that's how I was playing it. I was playing it digital
Oh,
on
on
360.
Xbox.
Yeah.
But can you like get it on, I don't know, Steam or
You
PlayStation?
can, but the Steam version is apparently also so the Steam version is
The PC version, that would be the PC version, which also
yes, but it's not the
didn't
PC
have the
version.
soundtrack. Oh,
The
what?
PC version was the original version on PC that was released on disc. The Steam version came out, I think, even after the 360 version, and is somehow even worse because apparently it also is just like broken mechanically. It just like doesn't play.
This is so awesome in a very crazy way. Because if like you think about it, like I said, I'd imagine playing it on the arcade is the definitive way
Uh huh.
that this version at least, should have been played.
Yeah, probably.
And then every subsequent version of this game that got released was just worse and
Every
worse and
single
worse.
time. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
And that's not just my opinion. This is I was looking through a bunch of forums and stuff, and
Yeah, yeah.
it is pretty unanimous. Like play the earliest version of this game that you can get your hands on, because exactly like you said, every single time this game was released, it was worse than the previous version,
That's cool.
which is
Well,
insane.
I'm glad I played the PlayStation one
Yeah,
then.
I mean you played the good one, so happy but jealous of you. Can I ask who did you play as?
I switched around, and off the top of my head, I don't remember their names. So if you have that, that'd be helpful.
Sure. Which but
I
what did your guy look like?
All right. So the one I played most of, I called him Zorro,
Zorro.
if that helps.
Is he the old guy?
It's the green-haired guy.
Zorro. Of course, Zorro. Of course. Of course, One Piece Zorro.
Yeah, of course.
So
Um,
his name is Axel, but yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I played as the fat guy a couple times.
Yeah.
I
So
think I tried them all out, but
yeah,
I
I did
gravitate
too.
towards Fat Funny and then Zorro for some reason.
So apparently, according to like the community of people who play Crazy Taxi, the people who are crazy for Crazy Taxi,
Mm-hmm.
they say that Axel is the worst one to play as.
Okay.
So I think he's probably the most interesting character. He's the one I think who's on like the cover of the game. He has the green
So
hair like Zorro
is
One
that
Piece. He's got a
is
Hawaiian
that
shirt
because
that's
their
like
cars
open.
control different?
Yes. So he is the like all rounder. So he's kind of decent at everything, but not good at anything.
Yeah. That's me.
Yeah.
That's why I gravitated towards him. That's me.
So then there's BD Joe, who's the black guy with the big, probably problematic smile. He does have kind of like a Mr. Popo face, and it's like, did we need to do that? And he's wearing a bucket hat. And He does have the very like 2000s, early 90s, early 2000s, 90s, I'd rather, fashion style of like the t-shirt over the long sleeve shirt, which I appreciated.
Of
Um,
course.
but he has the fastest top speed and like a pretty good acceleration, but the worst handling. So you're just an uncontrollable bullet.
Right.
Gina, who's wearing early 2000s low rise jeans and red Converse, which is again very 2000s. She's I think the best one. She's the one I ended up playing as the most. She has the fastest acceleration and the best handling and the best brakes, but she's really lightweight, which means that you can't drift with her very often. But like I said, using the crazy drift and all those different moves felt bad to me, so I wasn't really
Right.
doing a much anyway. So I was just playing Gina, straight, and it worked out for me pretty well. And then Gus is this like balding Hawaiian. He's like your stereotypical taxi driver, like New York taxi driver. He's this balding, overweight guy in a Hawaiian shirt with a big hairy chest. He drives this big ugly car, and apparently he's the one that the pros like to play the most because he's the heaviest. His car is the heaviest, which means that it is for some reason like the best one to drift in and to do the different crazy
Okay.
moves in. So when you get really good at it, he's the guy that you want to play as. So I guess that's great for
Makes
them,
sense.
but
Makes
I
sense.
didn't like playing as him.
I don't even remember. Does it say somewhere that these cars have different stats, or you
Nope.
just feel that out? Because when I was playing it, I did kind of feel like, okay, this car seems a bit heavier and this whatever, but I don't remember. Oh, you know what? I bet it said it in like a in game, like in the game case manual.
It probably did. The place that I found it was in it was a video game magazine that came out around the same
Yeah.
time.
That was popular.
So it may have also been in the manual, although that is lost to time as far as I'm concerned. I could probably find a PDF of it. Hopefully, I can.
No, the magazine seems the most likely thing actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Um, and then obviously the only other driver you can get is the rickshaw, but that's just a different car. Like it plays mechanically, I think, the same as whatever car the person that you choose afterwards is. So like you can have
Sure.
any of the people I think drive the
It
rickshaw.
just it just reskins it
Yeah.
as that.
So it's like really nothing. Um, did you also notice all of the drivers drive like the license plates? They all have like novelty license plates, but none of them except Gina's make any sense at all.
I don't remember the license plates. No. What do they say?
So Axel's license plate says 1NOM155, which is apparently supposed to be I know miss, as in I don't make mistakes.
Oh,
And like this is a game coming from Sega, so it's a Japanese game, so like maybe it just like didn't translate great because it's obviously a Japanese language game.
this is
But like it's just
I
like
mean,
okay, what is that?
the year 2000 leet speak.
I guess.
I don't know.
BD Joe's says two hop, like two HOP 260, which is apparently supposed to be two hop to go,
Okay.
HOPPOGO.
All right.
I don't know. Um, you got Gina's, which is the only one that makes sense. It was 5EXY515, so it's sexy sis. And I'm like, okay, sure.
All right.
I could see
Yeah.
someone having that license plate because it's
Yeah.
sexy sis. Great, sure. And she's the girl, sure. And then Gus's is probably the most abstract because what it is only 777. ONLY 777. And what you're supposed to take from that is that like he's the jackpot man. He's only shooting for the best. He like go for the
Oh.
gold. And I'm like,
That's obscure, but
that's
it
obscure. Like you're
makes
not
more
gonna
sense
guess
than
that.
whatever the hop thing is.
Two hop to go. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be like I'm ready to go. Let's get it. Like I think that's what that's supposed to be.
Sure.
But I don't know, man. It's just like they did a thing and they got like halfway there, but then all of the three of the four things are so obscure that's like you're not gonna know what that means. I had to Google it. I had to look them up because I noticed it on Gina's. I was like, that's something. I wonder if the other ones are something, and I couldn't figure any of them out. So
Well, that's fantastic.
yeah, oh, it was great. Did your version have two different maps?
I think so. I don't remember. Full disclosure. I played this like a month ago as of recording,
Mm.
and I kind of just tried to once I realized I wasn't gonna mess with the box stuff anymore because it was horrible and I didn't like it,
Hmm.
I was just like, all right, my goal is just to A rank a bunch of times and then get a feel for it and then be done. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it had two maps. I don't know. Why? What do you got?
Well, because so my version had the arcade mode, which was the original like San Francisco themed map where there's like the
Yeah.
trolley and everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then there's a second map that just it's called original mode, which
Yeah.
is not good because the arcade version is the original version. But then it's a
Uh-huh.
second map that is also San Francisco based, I guess, but it's like a different part of the city or something. But it's a different map that they added for I think the home release. So you should have had it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I believe yes. I think I played on both.
Okay, because I for sure preferred the first map. The second one like didn't really have anything of interest for me. The first one I feel like was more iconic because it has that little island that you have to go over to a couple of times. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you go through the arch to get there. It's got the tram system, the trolley system,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
very iconic, like San Francisco vibes. You go down to the
Yeah.
beach, you've got all that stuff. And the other one just feels like a city, which is
Yeah.
fine. And apparently, when you go further into the Crazy Taxi series, which, full disclosure, I don't know if we're going to play more of these, but there are like 5 more Crazy Taxi games.
Yeah, I could see us playing like maybe two. Um,
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know how much further than that though.
Yeah. Well, because there's
I
Crazy
mean,
Taxi
just
2 and 3, and then there's like spin off ones that are on GameCube or Game Boy, rather, that we're definitely not playing.
oh yeah.
Yeah. If we play more Crazy Taxis, it'll be 2 and 3, but
Oh,
we're not
you don't
doing
want to
the.
play the iOS one?
No. That one's just Temple Run, or not Temple Run. What's it called? Subway Surfers? Subway Surfers. I hit the mic.
Right.
Sorry.
Um, Crazy Taxi for the most part. I mean, this one, Metacritic has like an 80.
Yeah, it reviewed
Um,
extremely well at the time.
the GameCube version has a 69, but then Crazy Taxi 2 has an 82, and then Crazy Taxi 3 says 69.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So another interesting thing about Crazy Taxi 2 and 3 is I don't think, to my knowledge, I don't know if they've ever been re-released, and they were original Xbox exclusives. So if we were going to play them, it's going to
It's
probably be a little difficult for us because I don't think either of us own an original Xbox. Although I have been wanting to buy one.
it says 2 was on Dreamcast.
Oh yeah, maybe, but the Dreamcast is dead, so
Oh yeah, well, okay,
I
yeah.
don't even know where you can get a Dreamcast anymore.
I
But
mean,
Crazy Taxi One,
if we can't find it to play it, that answers the question right
yeah,
there.
I mean that is
No,
what
we
it
won't
is.
do it.
But Crazy Taxi 1 was the second best selling Dreamcast game in the United States.
Second to what?
See, I don't have that information. I looked for
Dang,
it and could not find it.
we'd have to find a Dreamcast player to ask him.
Yeah, all 3 of them. So you mentioned that you didn't really mess with Crazy Box too much?
I mean, I tempted. I think I gave every individual one like a fair shot, and then upon varying difficulties, was like, I think I can do this, or I'm not touching this ever again.
Yeah.
And then you have to beat all of them to like the more you beat, the more you unlock, if I remember correctly. And then you have to just keep like unlocking and beating things until you've done all the little mini games. Then you get the rickshaw.
Yeah.
If I
So,
had gotten that rickshaw, I would have called this 100% done, but
yeah.
it wasn't. It wasn't meant to be.
I almost did. I almost did.
What? Which game stopped you?
It was so it's not that necessarily one stopped me, it's that I sort of gave up.
Oh, fair
So,
enough.
when you beat, because it's separated into like 3 columns where it's like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, and then it goes
Yeah.
2-1, 2-2,
Yep.
and it's separated in 3 of those. Whenever you beat the 3 in a column, it unlocks a third one or a fourth one underneath it that's like
Yeah.
1-S. It does that for all
Yeah.
3. And I was like, okay, I'll stomach through it. I'll try my best. I'll get through them. And I was able to do that. It really sucked for some of the levels. The bowling one in particular kicked my ass for like a day.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely gave up on that. I was like,
Couldn't do the
not
bowling one
messing with
forever
this
because you
anymore.
have to drift for it. And I was just not having a fun time with it. The problem is once you finish the third of those, so once you finish 3 or S-3, or sorry, no, 3-S, whatever, it unlocks a fourth column
Yeah.
that is all
Yeah.
S's, and it's S-1, S-2, S-3, and those popped up, and I went, nah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good actually. I'm not gonna do this.
You've tried my patience for the last time, game.
I played the first two just to like get a taste for them, but nah, nah, because it wasn't fun. Like so many of them are terrible. Some of the original, like the first couple, are super easy, where it's like, oh, you just have to jump off this ramp and get a certain distance. Sure, whatever. You do the thing where you like accelerate way faster than normal, and you're gonna get it every time. It's easy. Then there's one where it's like, oh, you just have to turn around and run over this flag that's behind you. That one's super easy. But then immediately it starts getting like you get to 1-S is crazy bowling. And it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm never like that. That's gonna take forever because you have to drive through this course, and there's 4 or 5 different sets of bowling pins set up, and you have to drift to turn the car sideways so that you can hit all the pins and get a strike. Because you have to get a strike on every single one of them and get to the end on time. And the time is so tight, like it is damn near
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
drove straight there, you would still be like running low on time. And on the way there, you're
Absolutely.
supposed to drift and hit all of these things and do it perfectly. And a nightmare, truly a nightmare.
There's zero margin for error.
Yeah. And then it just continues getting harder and harder from there, where like again it's like the original 3 are not too bad. Like some of them are pretty rough. There's one where you have to like pick up the people who are in a centralized location, and you have to go out like sort of spoke like to these other 3 or other, I think it's like 6 different points, and drop them off. And the whole thing is you have to like the thing that they want you to do is do the drift right at the end, so that you like turn 360 around and you can head back as soon as the guy gets out of the car, which I was really bad at, but eventually got that one. The other one that threw me off for a really long time is there's one where you have to go off these ramps, and I wish I could remember which one that was called. I think it's called Crazy Bound. You have to go off these ramps and then drift like while you're in midair so that you land sideways. So that because you're jumping from platform to platform, and you have to land facing like 90 degrees separate from the way that you would have taken off from the ramp, so that you
Yeah.
can go forward and hit the next ramp and not go into the water, because you go in the water you lose. And you have to do it like 12 times in a row, and you're again on an extremely tight time crunch. And it's a nightmare. It's just so many of these are just not fun to do. Like I understand the challenge aspect of it. So if you're one of those sickos who's like, I just love the feeling of accomplishment of getting it done, I
Yeah.
understand that like maybe this will give you something for that. But what this feels like is they just took a tutorial for how to do the things in the games and made it into bonus content, but then also made it so hard that it's not fun to learn how to do the things.
Yeah. It really comes across like homework or busy work. Like just grind away. I mean, in theory, if you get to the point where you've beat all the crazy, if you unlock that rickshaw, you truly are a master of the game. Like you can do it now. You'll
Yeah.
like S rank every time. But again, like I said before, it's just I was not willing to put in that time.
I don't think it's worth the time. You get a reward for it. You get the rickshaw, and that's great. A lot of games, when you 100% it, they don't give you anything. So like, it's nice to get something.
I mean,
But
that's like one of the ultimate, especially of this era. It's just like, did you know that if you beat all the things that you get the rickshaw? We're like, well, what's a rickshaw? Little
yeah,
5-year-old Timmy says, and you're like, it's like a thing that's pulled by sticks and there's wheels. It's
yeah.
like a taxi, but
I
different.
actually, because I don't think it says the name of it in the game. I think like when you're going through the forums that I was going through, most people just call it the bike, because it's like a rickshaw
Uh,
being pulled by a bike.
yeah, yeah,
So most
yeah,
people just call it the
yeah, yeah,
bike.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't even know. Yeah,
Get
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right, there we go.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, like I was saying, to me personally, and my playstyle of being bad at the game, this game completely coasts on Offspring and Bad Religion, if you play the right version, apparently.
which I didn't.
Um, and just the novelty of the game being what it is, one of the first of its kind, the procedurally generated city, or not generated, procedurally rendered, if that's the right term for it. I don't remember.
Yeah, because it's to be
Um,
clear, it's not a. I hit the mic again. I gotta stop doing this. I'm talking with my hands too much. Um, it's not a procedurally generated city. It's the same
yeah,
every
no, no, no.
time, so you can
Yeah,
like
yeah.
learn the map and learn the proper routes to do things, and that's the way that people really get good at the
It's
game.
it just had it developed the technology to like render the city as you're approaching it, which I think it's like the first of its kind to do that, or that's what it gets touted for. But also you can drive just fast enough that you're like beating the render speed.
Yeah, there's a lot of pop in.
So like there's a lot of Like not even just like buildings and stuff, but like you'll be like, all right, I'm beelining down this street, and then you smash into something, and then the car that you just smashed into pops in. It's like, oh, okay.
I never had that,
Uh,
so maybe that gets fixed in the 360 version because I
I
definitely
had
never had like cars popping in directly in front of me. I always had enough
I had
time to
that happen
react.
once.
I did see somewhere on one of the forums that there's a teleport bug, and that may have been what happened to you.
Oh, that's entirely possible.
But I don't really know exactly what that bug was or how to trigger it. But they said like if you get going too fast, then that can happen.
You got to go fast. It's Crazy Taxi.
Gotta go fast. Sega loves going fast, famously. Hey, do you think that
Oh.
one bit in whichever Sonic game that is, where you're running down the hill and you're getting chased by the car, you think that's a reference to Crazy Taxi?
Hmm. Now, if I say yes, then Sonic fans will get mad.
It's fine.
If I say no, Crazy Taxi fans will get mad.
Pick a fan base to
So,
give 'em anger.
so I'm gonna say nothing.
Okay, you're no fun.
I'm a true fence sitter.
I have a couple little trivia things here before we get into our reviews because I think we basically said all we can about this game.
Yeah, it's a shorter episode.
A couple little trivia things here. So apparently in 2001, and this is insane, Richard Donner was signed on to make a
Oh,
movie about
from the
Crazy Taxi.
Goonies? From Superman and the
I was
Goonies?
gonna say you went to the Goonies first, but he's like, that's the Superman guy for me.
I made a choice, and I stand by it.
That's fine. You're a little bit of a Goonie, I understand.
Sloth wears a Superman shirt.
True. Did Goonies would have had to come out afterwards, so he was referencing his other stuff with that. I never picked up on that. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Pretty cute, pretty cute. But yeah, I don't know what that movie would have been about. There's no story in this, so presumably it would have been just Drive Angry, but with a guy who looks like Zorro from One Piece.
Well, I mean, in theory, you could make a movie with like your taxi hub and like the office or wherever the garage where the two drivers collate, and you got a cast of colorful characters, not unlike Borderlands. You get four of them,
Sure,
and then I don't know. That's the best I got.
that's all I
That's
got.
as far as I get. They didn't pay me to come up with it, so
Yeah, well, I guess they must not have paid Richard Donner enough because that movie clearly never came out.
no, maybe it'll still happen.
So anyway, anyway, just last year, this was also the game that Senator Tim Walz played while running for
Yes,
president.
yes, he
He played
did.
it on stream with
Vice,
AOC,
vice president, excuse you.
but he was on stream with Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, who I personally a big fan of. I love how she talks just so much shit. But he was on a Twitch stream with her, and he was just like, "Hey, they gave me this whole streaming setup to join you on this. Would it be cool if I played this game from like when I was younger?" And she's like, "What?" And he just turns on Crazy Taxi, and she's like, "What?" Like she's genuinely a little surprised. It seems that he plays it. He only plays it for a
If
couple
I
minutes. He's a busy man, but
if I remember correctly, because there was like a thing where, under the eyes of scrutiny, every single person in the country is like, "Oh, this guy played Crazy Taxi, did he? Let's see." And there are people saying that he like wasn't playing, like he
he
was
didn't.
faking it.
He
Try
didn't do
to
well
get
enough
the.
to be faking it.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, word
Yeah.
for word. If I remember correctly from the footage, and I'm like, no, he's playing like I do, which implies that no, that's real. Because if you're gonna fake it, I mean, play better, right?
He's playing better than I would have thought he would, but not good enough to where I'm like, oh, he's got a teenager playing this for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with Snoop Dogg at that Call of Duty thing.
What?
That happened. Snoop Dogg faked it.
Snoop Dogg
He was
had
pretending to
a.
play I think it was Call of Duty, and then people caught him because while the game was still playing, he just like lifted up his hands and rolled a blunt,
That's okay.
just like fully on camera, and everyone's like, "Are you playing?" He said, "Nah."
That's awesome. What even is Snoop doing anymore? I don't.
He's a funny guy. He's a real card, that guy.
Well, good for him.
But yeah, so let's get into our reviews here. So as a reminder for the audience and for ourselves, we use the IGN review score basically, wherein a 10 is a masterpiece, a 9 is amazing, 8 is great, 7 is good, 6 is okay, 5 is mediocre, 4 is bad, 3 is awful, 2 is painful, and 1 is unbearable. Where for you on this scale do you believe that Crazy Taxi falls?
This is going to be my lowest scored game to date,
Okay.
but I still feel like it's going to come in a little higher than yours. Maybe a lot higher than yours.
I don't think a lot
Because
higher.
I'm gonna give it some leeway points based on like how iconic it is. Well, that sounds like a cop out. Not really. But it being the first game to do what it did, basically. I'm like, all right, so it laid the groundwork for other games that play better, that I like better, like the Simpsons one that they sued.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, which, according to our scale, is okay,
Yeah.
which I think is fair from me.
Yeah, I think if I had played your version, I would probably be feeling about the same because because
Yeah.
I'm not far off. I'm gonna give it a 5 because for me, for that's number 5 is mediocre, and that's about where I'm at because I think that this in the state that I played it in, which is probably at this point the state that most people would play it in, just because that's the
Mhm.
most easily accessible digital version right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It, it's just not a fun game. It's like it's not bad. There's nothing that you look at and you're like, "Oh, this is broken. This should be different." But you would genuinely the first time I turned this on, I played like 2 rounds and I was like, "I think I kind of got it." Like I played this game for a
Yeah,
collective like 15 minutes and I was like, "I think I'm kind of done." And I
that
had to
was
force
that was
myself to
my
go back to like try and get the higher licenses and try to, finish the crazy box because I was like, "Oh, we're going to talk about it." And like I have more time to play this. I should put more time into it. But if I wasn't playing it for purpose of doing a review, I would have turned this game on. I would have played it for tops 30
yeah.
minutes and I would have gotten out and I would have been like, okay, well, I'm going to go do anything else.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I was thinking as well. I was thinking like what really are we even going to say about this? It's very surface level, the game at its core. So when I saw the crazy box was a thing, I was like, okay, well, at least we could talk about that. And I was like, well, these are hard as shit, and I don't want to do
Yeah.
them. So,
They're just not fun.
so, um, but again, not unwarranted. But like people are gonna hear me say that and say skill issue, and you're like, yeah, well, that's true. But at a certain point, like I'm not asking for it to be easier. I'm just saying like, oh, well, then I can't really talk about it because I didn't invest the time to get good in it.
I also
So
believe, and this might be something that also gets me some mean comments, I also believe that a good game can be fun even if you're not good at it.
yeah, I
Like, I
mean,
remember playing SSX Tricky as a kid, and I was terrible at it for a long time, and I was having a blast because that's a really fun game. This, not so much.
like there are definitely certain games where the point is learning the skill of playing it, like fighting games, for example. If you can, well, okay, actually that fits in because you can have fun with fighting games if you're bad at them,
Yeah, I
like
do all the
like
time.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't need to be like a league player to get good at them. But if you do go MLG, I don't know where I'm going with this. The point is, this game is hard. I didn't want to spend a week trying to learn how to play it, but I got to listen to The Offspring, so I gave it a 6.
Must have been nice. This is where I'd put my offspring if I
Yeah,
had
Offspring
any.
Offspring would have bumped you up to a 6.
Maybe like
But
a 5-5.
but because of that, the average of our scores comes to 5-5.
Yeah, which I think feels fair. I think it is between mediocre and okay. I think that's totally fair. I think that is the way that it felt like we both sort of felt about it.
I think if possible, whenever it fits into the yearly schedule, we should give Crazy Taxi 2 a shot.
Okay, I'll add it to the
I
list.
don't know. It's only on Dreamcast here.
I'm
You said
sure
it was
there's
an
a way.
Xbox one?
I thought so.
If we can find it, I would love to play that just to see if it improves on the original. If it's the same thing again,
Then we won't do 3.
then we won't even cover it.
If we put in enough work to find a way to play it, we're gonna cover it no matter what.
Uh,
If I'm putting in all this legwork to find a Dreamcast version of this bitch, we're playing it. But anyway, everybody, if you want to tell us how much we suck for not liking Crazy Taxi, you can send those comments straight to our YouTube channel, Ready Set Replay, or you can leave them on our Spotify channel, Ready Set Replay. Whichever one you're not listening to this on currently, you can leave a hurtful comment here and then go over to the other one and leave another hurtful comment. Wouldn't that be great? You can tell us how much we suck twice. That's the most
yeah,
fun thing you could possibly do.
and you're probably only hurting Daniel's feelings because I'm too scared to read them.
That's fair, and I mean, realistically, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I've gotten mean comments before. Anyway, though, You can also follow the channel on Twitter at RSR_POD. That's RSR Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel J. McGee, as well as on Blue Sky in the exact same way. Or you can follow Skyler on Blue Sky at Skyler8bit. But until next time, everybody, play more games.
The game's just starting, the world's so bright. Jump right in, everything feels right. Let's play, take a trip back in time where